Well, hey everybody, it's 3 p.m. and it's time for Breaking Bread with Nanny Bubby. I'm Nanny Bubby. Welcome to my kitchen, and I know, this is not the way you're used to seeing Nanny Bubby, but I couldn't miss being here with you guys today. I had a luncheon that ran late, and all I really had time to do is get everything all set up before I left for this luncheon, and then I came home and quickly set up the equipment. And now here I am. So really it's funny because what I wanted to tell you is as I was getting ready, I said to myself, thank God that my brand is always in an apron, because the truth is I have a really fabulous summer top on that if I get flour on it or any other goopy stuff on this beautiful top that I wore to my luncheon, it would break my heart. And it started me thinking about those of you who always say, I don't wear an apron. Okay, I know you don't wear an apron, and I do, and this is one of the reasons why I do. Because especially if you're a young mother or a young father and you get home and in your work clothes and the kids are screaming and yelling and wanting your attention, it is hard. You want to go right into the kitchen and start making dinners and things. So let me turn off this, sorry, right in the middle of a thought there. And I know you're dying to know what it is that I'm going to say, but I need to turn down the audio here. I should finish a thought before I start fooling with all of this. I know that. But here's the thing, is that if you're in your work clothes and you go in the kitchen and you get filthy dirty, you're going to say, that's it, I'm done. I'm just going to order in. It's too much trouble. There's too much that happens, and I ruin clothes when I cook. But if you will wear an apron, then you will cover yourself and not be, thrown by all of it. And so here I am in this great top and fabulous earrings, I may say. But I put on the apron, and I'm not the least bit concerned about my splashing, my doing anything here in the oven or in the kitchen, by the way. And so it started me thinking, I'm getting out my Spread Love Like Butter apron. You can get these online at the shop. Here's the shop you can see. Go into nannybubby.com/shop. You can go into nannybubby.com on Instagram in my link in my bio, and you can buy yourself an apron. They're very not expensive. For some reason, I always forget exactly how much they are. I suppose if I'm going to pitch them, I should know how much they are. And while you're at it, enjoy the affirmation cards as well that you can see here in the shop. Here's the affirmation cards, dropping those all over with 2 recipes within them. And of course, the fabulous Nanny Bubby spatula. So that's the end of the Nanny Bubby QVC portion of the show. But it really did start me thinking. And these are so great. They're waterproof. You can wash them over and over and over again. They come out of the dryer unwrinkled, and it's a great thing just to throw on if you have to cook dinner for your family. So keep an eye out for that. Go to nannybubby.com/shop and get your apron, spatula, or fabulous affirmation cards that were written from my heart. So what am I making today? I am making scones. And I am making them, so I rarely bake, as you know, but scones are like cookies, is that you can share them with so many people and make them happy. And so if you take a look at this, I have a whole section of everything already prepared and already measured, and I'm going to take you through each and every step. So now what I am basically doing is I'm making scones tomorrow for the guys on the radio. So every Wednesday at 8:10 a.m., I make an appearance on the radio talking and being interviewed about Long Life Era and all the things that we talk about on Long Life Era. So I'm going in with a big surprise. I promised the boys that I would cook for them once a month, and that month is up. So I'm going to make scones. So if you're ready, let's begin. So let's see first who's joined us here. Let me go online here. Here we go. And let's see who's here. There's a lot of people here. Let's see who's come. There we go. For some reason, There we go. Tom is here. Hi, Tom. And Frank is here. Of course, Frank is here. Hey, Frank. Thanks for the smiley face. So there we have it. Tom and Frank are here. Sounds like the audio must be good. Otherwise, Grandpa Tom would be running down the stairs to tell me. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine all of our dry ingredients, which is 2 cups of flour, and we're going to sift the flour so that the scones are nice and fluffy. And I like doing this by hand. When I was growing up, we had one of those sifters where you squeeze it, and that's how you sift. But I really, really, really like this technique. Much, much better. So there we go. And hello, Frank. Thanks for saying hello. Okay, I've got everybody in now. And that's it. It's all sifted, all beautiful. We're going to set this over here. And from there, we're going to put in the sugar. Oh, a tablespoon of baking powder, which, by the way, I don't think it would be a bad idea to go ahead and sift the baking powder either. So let me put the baking powder in here and do the same thing with that, because sometimes baking powder can be very clumpy. Okay, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar I think can go right in. There we go. And from there, we're going to put in 1/2 teaspoon salt. Now, whenever I do a recipe that is not my own, where you're baking and adding salt, I always double the salt in the baking. So this is a teaspoon and about 1/4 of salt. And then we have 1/3 cup of butter. So I wanted to make sure that butter was very, very cold. And so let me just whisk this all together really quickly. And I'm going to pull this butter out of the refrigerator because I wanted to make sure, I'm in my new fabulous Sub-Zero refrigerator. So what this says is in a large bowl, and this recipe is from Pretty Simple Sweet. And it's a very simple recipe and a beautiful recipe for scones. And I love to find simple baking recipes because I'm not a baker, and it's challenging for me to bake. And it's funny because I'm very exact, I'm very mechanical, so I know the difference between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch, meaning that sometimes if you're mechanical, that 1/4 inch can make a big difference in the world. I'm very exact about my makeup, I'm very exact about my clothes, but when it comes to my creativity, like cooking, I am not exact. I really go by sight and smell, and sometimes you need a little more than a little less of everything. But when it comes to baking, it needs to be exact and precise. And believe it or not, that frustrates me a little bit, so I don't really enjoy baking. Also, I'm not big on gluten and I'm not big on sugar, so that also keeps me out of the baking game pretty much. But I think there's nothing better than beautiful scones for breakfast, especially if you've been on the radio since 6 a.m. in the morning and someone walks in with fresh baked chocolate chip scones. So that's what I'm doing for these guys. So shh, don't tell Andy Vieira and Mark Thomas on air, better known as Mark Melbourne on Facebook, exactly what it is that I'm making for them. So here we go. Let's read this. In a large bowl, whisk together the flour, baking powder, sugar, and salt, and then toss the butter into the flour, which is what I'm going to do, and we're going to cut the cold butter into cubes. So let's take the cold butter here, and I think you can totally get into this shot right there. There you go. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to cut this in cubes. It's nice and cold. Just took it out of brand new refrigerator that gave me fits. That's why I'm here with you guys today, because even though I had this lunch scheduled several weeks ago, I might have skipped cooking with you guys today, but the truth is because last week with all the construction suddenly going on in the kitchen that I was not expecting, I missed a lot of days because I had a lot of men in here. I probably should have gone live on the air then just to show you what was going on. So you probably were wondering what this is. When it comes to recipes like this where you really need to use your hands or a pastry cutter to incorporate the butter into the mix, I always put gloves on Number one, I always want things to be really, really sanitary. And for as much as you clean your hands, when you're really going to go in and need something like this, you really, who knows what you got or didn't get underneath your nails. And I mean, sometimes people get, like my husband or anybody that cooks with me says, Marla, sometimes you're just the cleanest cook and sometimes you can go too far. But for me, being a really, really clean and cautious cook about everything is just not going too far. So here we go. Back to the tight shot. And we're going to toss the butter into the flour mixture and cut it into the dry ingredients with a pastry cutter, 2 forks, or my fingers until the mixture resembles coarse meal and there are small uneven pieces of butter throughout. So with the butter, here we go. Let's see if anybody else is joining us right now. Not sure where Judy Woods has been lately, but here we go. We're going to work this until we get this all mixed in. There are about 5 1/3 tablespoons, which is about 1/3 of a cup of butter in this. There we go. We're going to get this all kneaded into this, just like this. And then we are going to add the chocolate chips into this. And then in a small bowl, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of cream and an egg, I think is what we're doing. In a small bowl, mix the egg, the cream, and the vanilla extract. So here, let me get this all kneaded in right here. Just keep working it. You can see me pulling it apart here. And I'm just working this butter. Now, the reason that you want to add cold butter is because as you bake with it, and as it begins to melt, it lets off steam in the dough, and that is what ensures making scones very light and very flaky. So you'll hear a lot of pastry chefs talk about ice cold butter and what that does to the dough and for the dough of what you're baking. And so I just want to make sure that I crumble this nice and fabulously into the dough. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I think that, well, there's one piece that's a little too big. Okay, there we go. All right, let me get that over there. Okay, let me wipe these hands. You'll have to excuse me 1 minute here. Let me grab this. Let me wipe these hands because I'm going to keep these gloves on for just a minute, but I want to make sure that, that I can touch everything. So in here we're going to put the chocolate chips. You can see that. Can you see that? All the chocolate chips. And we're just going to whisk this around. There we go. If I see I'm seeing some large pieces of the butter, so I'm just smashing them up as though I'm using a pastry dough cutter with this whisk. Here we go. That looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Can you see that? There we go. So the flour has gotten very coarse due to the butter, which is exactly what we want. Let me get this piece of butter out. There we go. Okay, and now in a small bowl, we are going to, let me grab this, put this right here. In a small bowl, we are going to add 3/4 of a cup of cream, right there. Okay, let's see, anybody else here? Nope, nobody else has said hello. So if you're watching, which it says quite a few of you are, please say hello so that I know that you're there, because unless you say something, I honestly can't tell that you're there. So there we go. All right. Okay, so let's mix this up. Heavy cream, 3/4 of a cup, 1 egg. And now we are going to, oh my gosh, add the mixture to the flour mixture. There we go. Always want to thank Melissa's for sponsoring our shows and getting us all the produce that we need. Very excited to always be working with Melissa's. So there's Laura Grau. Hey, Laura, how are you? So nice to see you here. I read your post in Long Life Era. For those of you who are members of Long Life Era, thank you for being there. We're having a really, really good time. Also, I forgot the vanilla, so let's see if I can go ahead and throw some vanilla in here, about a half a teaspoon of vanilla mixture. I'll mix it in. There we go, maybe a little extra. Can never have too much vanilla, can you? I love vanilla. All right, and now let me just blend that vanilla right into the cream. So Laura said that her heart's desire is to be an actress, to which I replied, you can be an actress, just try out for community theater. You just never know where it might take you. So I don't know, Laura, if you saw that, but I thought that was so fun, and was hoping that, that you saw that post. And this just got all stuck in here, if you can see that. So the instructions say, let's see, add most of the mixture to the flour mixture, leaving a bit for adding if needed. Stir mixture with a spatula or fork until the dough begins to form. If dough is too crumbly, add more of the cream mixture as needed, but don't overmix. And they say not to overmix flour because it starts to make the gluten form. So here we go. Here we go. Watching and thank you. You're welcome, Laura. Thank you. All right, let's use the Nanny Bubby spatula. Where did I put it? Okay, and we're just going to mix this up nicely. You able to see that? There we go. Okay. So Laura's here. Frank, what's your heart's desire? I think you want to be on the Food Network. I think that would be Frank's desire. You want to be a Food Network chef, and you should try out for one of those shows, Frank, the competitions. I think you would be great on that. I think you'd have a good time. I think that sounds like a great idea. Okay, so this is the part where I'm really happy that I'm wearing gloves, and especially because at this point, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a little bit of flour. Of course, I cleaned and sanitized this board right here with food-grade hydrogen peroxide, as usual, and my husband said I look cute. That's cute. Isn't that cute that he says that? Thank you, dear. And he liked what I was wearing today. He said, your earrings are cute. I mean, how do you like that? These earrings are great for cooking, right? Somebody's going to tune in and say, what the heck is that woman doing? But anyway, okay. This is so sticky. All right, let's pour this out onto the board. We're going to put this into, oh, golly gee, this is the part about baking that I'm not thrilled about, but I'm committed to getting through it because I truly want to make scones for these guys. Okay. Oh, my God. Why design a garden make this look so much easier? So, any hints? Anybody who's watching? Hey, Lene. Speaking of Lene, let's do this. Let's speak about Lene for just a moment. So as you know, Lene made a charcuterie board for me over the weekend, and I was able to load a picture of that. Let me do that right now. These gloves are dirty, and I don't want to touch the equipment, so you have to give me a minute here. But let's do this. There we go. So you can see that Lene made this beautiful charcuterie board for me over the weekend, which was fantastic. We used it as an appetizer before dinner, and it was fabulous. And Lene actually was the inspiration behind the post in Long Life Era today, which is, what one thing would you do that is your heart's desire that your family might be surprised about? And I don't know if Lene's family was very surprised that she actually wants to go into making charcuterie, because I'm sure that she's talked about it for some time with her family. But for all of us who knew her but didn't know her well enough, this was a new thought and a new idea for her. And so she needed courage to come forward and start doing it. And I was really honored that she actually reached out to me and wanted to have a conversation about it, and wanted to talk about what I thought about her doing this business. And I don't know that I'm anybody that gives all that great of advice, but as long as she came to me for advice, I was very happy to share my thoughts with her. And we had a lovely afternoon chatting it up. And so she offered to make that beautiful board for me, and I was very honored. And so there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yes, Frank, there's a cooking competition on the Food Network. They always ask, go on foodnetwork.com and see what they're, offering. And I don't know that offering is the right word, but they advertise, I think, for people to, send resumes in different cooking, for different shows that they do, where they have baking competitions and cooking competitions or barbecue competitions, or beat Bobby Flay. And you might want to beat Bobby Flay because he does a lot of Italian, as you know, so that might be a good one for you. So yeah, they have tons of different cooking competitions. Do you ever watch the Food Network, Frank? Seriously, you should. Okay, how's that look? So the key here is I made this into a disc, and then what I'm gonna do, oh my God, that was a lot of work, by the way. I should bake more. No wonder most bakers are thin, because you use so much body weight to actually bake with. So I'm going to wrap this in plastic, and I'm going to stick it into the refrigerator for a good hour, and then I'm going to roll it out, and I'm going to use a scone cutter to cut scones out of it. There we go. And there it is, right there. And what I will do is I will take pictures of the cut up scones, and I'm going to put them in the fridge, cover them nice and tight after I cut them. And then in the morning, I'm going to brush them with heavy cream, so they just have that really glossy glow on the top. And then I am going to bake them off and sprinkle them with a little maybe sugar, maybe some crumbled sugar on the top, and bake them and bring them into the guys as a nice surprise. So what do you think of that? Yay, I did it. First time ever making scones. Actually, that's not true. I make pumpkin scones. The original Starbucks recipe for pumpkin scones for my daughter for her birthday every November, because she loves pumpkin scones. Although this November, it was like the day before Thanksgiving, and my appliances had just gotten installed, so I did not make them. I didn't even know how to turn the ovens on for her birthday. It's crazy, I'm telling you. First time I ever cooked in this kitchen was for Thanksgiving, and I didn't even know how to take the rack out of the oven, to put the turkey in, or then when you brought the turkey out, how to raise the rack so you could put your sides in. It was so confusing, and somehow I got through it all. But anyway, here it is. You see that, right? That's great. Okay, and so speaking of that, I do want to share this with you. Yesterday I made this fabulous one-pot mac and cheese, and there it is after it cooked at 325 for about 20 to 25 minutes. The minute it started to bubble, but yes, I see Lene said I made them for my daughter. She remembered, I'm not sure how, but yes, I made pumpkin scones for my daughter. That is correct. But not this year, it was the year before. Anyway, this is the mac and cheese that I made yesterday. This is how it turned out. Now, the key to this that I just want to tell you is that what you do is you bake it at 325, as I said, for about 20-25 minutes. As soon as you start seeing it bubbly, take it out. And then remember, the top layer was the breadcrumbs. Then on top of the breadcrumbs, you just put out the shredded cheddar cheese on top, and just let the heat from the mac and cheese itself just melt that cheese. And so that's all that is, that cheese melted on its own, just being on top of the macaroni and cheese. And so what I'm going to do today, as soon as I clean up from this mess that I brought to my house for all of you and for Andy and Mark, is I am going to cut this now in about 3-inch squares, and I'm going to food savor every one of those squares. So I should have, like, let's see, 3, 6, I should have about 12 squares, maybe even more, maybe 15. And I'm going to food savor them, and then I'm going to throw them in my car, and I'm going to go run, take them over to my daughter's, and she can put, 14 of them in the freezer to have every time she wants to make mac and cheese. And for the kids, which is almost every night because he's a 3-year-old, and you know how crazy they are. And then also she can cut them up, what he doesn't eat, for cold, and put them in his lunch for the next day. So there is that. So, oh, charcuterie is back. Sorry about that. Another little plug for Nanny. So anyway, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to stick these in the new Sub-Zero refrigerator. I love to say that. And I will take pictures tonight as I roll them and cut them, put them in the refrigerator overnight, and then I'll take some pictures and put them as they're baking in the oven, and that'll be it for me. So thank you so much for joining me today. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go out and buy aprons. No, I'm kidding. I'm laughing at myself. That's really funny. Nobody else in this kitchen is laughing, just me. I don't know if you're laughing, but okay, I hope you are. On the count of 3 for real this time. 1, 2, 3. Go out and spread love like butter. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Bye.